Hey guys, tonight we're not talking about fears that live in your head. We're talking about fears that walked on four legs. Fears that growled, stalked, roared, and knew how to track you by scent alone. Fears that didn't wait under your bed. They waited outside your firelight, just beyond where the warmth stopped touching the trees. And you didn't even have a door to lock. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Now, dim the lights and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The fire crackles and every sound feels louder than it should. You shift your weight on the cold stone floor, wrapping your furs tighter. You're on night watch again. Everyone else is sleeping, their breath soft and slow. You're the only one still pretending you can outwait the dark. Somewhere out there, a twig snaps. You don't move. The air is sharp, scented with pine, snow, and something else. Musk, old fur, something alive. There are no fences out here, no walls, just stone and sky and whatever gods you can whisper to when the wind shifts the wrong way. And it has shifted. It's subtle, but it's enough. The dogs, half tame, twitchy things, are suddenly alert. Their ears rise. One growls low. You know that growl. It's not fear, it's memory. You grip your spear, though you both know it won't matter much if something charges through those trees. It's happened before. Everyone remembers the night Kemi disappeared. One moment, she was stirring a stew. The next, gone. A scream cut short, a spray of red across the snow. No one even found her sandals. Some of the elders say it was a spirit. You don't think spirits leave claw marks that deep in a mammoth bone. No, what hunts out here is real, huge, hungry, and worst of all, it remembers you. You creep to the edge of the firelight and scan the woods. Your eyes catch movement, barely, a shape, low to the ground. Too fluid to be wind, too fast to be imagination. Then it's gone. You wait. Nothing. Just silence. Your heartbeat starts to slow until something shifts in the snow behind you. You spin. Nothing there. You exhale. Then realize you've stopped breathing. Your hands are shaking. You press them against your knees and wait. Firelight dances on the cave walls, flickering over old paintings. Your ancestors left their memories here. Black lines drawn in ash and ochre. Bears, lions, wolves with teeth too big for reason. No captions, just warnings. Historians still argue what those drawings meant. Were they prayers, threat assessments, or just desperate reminders that these beasts were real, and sometimes they won? There's a fringe theory that some of those cave paintings weren't even made by modern humans, but by Neanderthals, our quieter cousins, the ones who vanished. Maybe they saw the monsters first. Maybe they tried to warn us before we replaced them. You trace one of the figures with your finger. It's not artistry, it's urgency. You stare at the claw marks in the stone near the fire ring. 5 gouges. Each one a finger, each one the size of yours, but deeper, much deeper. The wind returns, colder now. You step outside the cave mouth, just far enough to see the valley stretch out like a sleeping animal beneath the stars. The snow reflects moonlight, almost glowing. It would be beautiful if it weren't so still. That kind of stillness means something's watching. Not attacking, just watching. And that's worse. You remember what your grandmother once said when you were small and scared of shadows. It's not the dark that gets you, she whispered. It's what remembers you in it. At the time, you thought it was a riddle. Now, Now you think she knew exactly what she was talking about. Somewhere behind you, a spark cracks in the fire. The dogs flinch. One bolts into the cave. The other stares into the trees and whimpers. Not a bark, a surrender. You've never heard that before. And then you hear it, low, guttural, like two boulders grinding in a throat. A growl, not directed at you, but near enough that your knees lock. It doesn't last long, just a few seconds. Then, it's gone. You wait. You count your own breath. And you start to feel the story forming. Not the kind people tell in daylight, the kind whispered around dying fires. The first monsters humans ever feared weren't imaginary. They were covered in fur. They breathed steam into the air. They had eyes that glowed like dying embers. They didn't kill for sport or cruelty. They killed because they could. And we learned to run. You lie down again, pretending to rest. But you can't. Because now every rustle of leaves might be a paw step. Every gust of wind might carry a scent. And your dreams, they're no safer. Because sometimes the monsters don't come from your mind. They come from memory. And somewhere, just beyond the firelight, something breathes deep and doesn't blink.
Morning doesn't feel like safety. It just feels like less danger. The fire's down to red glowing embers, and the dogs are restless, still pacing, still twitching at every sound. You didn't sleep, not really. You just lay still for a few hours, listening to the night hold its breath. Now the sun hangs low and pale, casting weak light through the mist. You're not the only one awake. The elders are already muttering, their faces tight. Something followed the camp last night. They won't say what. No one ever does. But everyone sharpens their spears a little more carefully this morning. You gather your gear and move with the others toward the valley caves. There's food to find, bones to scavenge, anything that keeps you fed another day. You take the lead. Not because you're brave, because you're afraid of what happens if someone else isn't. It's not long before the stench hits you. Not fresh death, old, rot clinging to damp stone, musk like wet leather, and something worse, something sour. You find the lair just before you see it. Scratches clawed into the cave mouth, gouged deep into rock, scattered bones, massive footprints half melted by sun, and fur, coarse, black, tangled, caught on a jagged outcrop. Your stomach tightens. You already know what this is. A cave bear. You duck into the entrance, torch in hand. The air inside is colder than outside. That shouldn't be possible, but it is, because this place doesn't belong to you. The cave bear did not share space. It owned it. Even now, even dead, it still feels like it's home, like its bones are watching. You press further in. The walls are covered in long, deliberate scrapes, not the kind that come from a stumble. These were ritual, markings, territorial or ceremonial, no one knows for sure. Historians still argue whether early humans worshipped these beasts or just tried to scare them away with symbols. You step deeper, and there it is. The skull. Massive, cracked, weathered, but still horrifying. Its jaws lie open slightly, teeth worn with time. A few are broken, but even broken, they'd be enough to end you. You kneel beside it and notice something strange. Another skull, smaller, human, set just behind it, cradled in bone like a twisted offering. You don't tell the others about that part. Here's something odd to consider while you're awake longer than you want to be. In several European caves, archaeologists have found collections of cave bear skulls stacked together, some in circles, some resting neatly on stone shelves. It's still debated whether humans arranged them or if the bear somehow did. Fringe theory? Maybe. But then again, why does this place feel like a tomb? You move to leave. That's when the growl comes. Low, deep, and very real. You freeze. Your first thought is that it's the wind, but then you hear footsteps. Thud, thud. The weight of them makes the floor tremble slightly. You don't see it, but you feel it. The others are already running. You back out slowly, torch raised. The air tightens around your ribs. You can't breathe properly. The shadows feel wrong. Then a shape looms just within torchlight. Not fully formed, but massive. You don't wait. You run. You sprint across frozen stone, lungs burning. The others shout your name, but it's distant, unimportant. You're not running toward them. You're running away from it. Something follows, not close enough to see, but close enough to hear. And then, silence. You turn back once. Nothing. Just the cave mouth. Dark again. Like nothing ever lived there. You stagger back to camp. Everyone's waiting. No one asks questions. Someone adds another charcoal bear to the wall. Big, angled teeth, eyes like fire. Later that night, you overhear two elders talking. One swears he saw a bear once walk upright, fully upright, like a man. Not just rearing, standing, watching the fire from the ridge. The other scoffs, but his voice shakes. And here's a theory to fall asleep to. Some believe cave bears weren't just animals. They were gatekeepers, beasts that kept humans from places we weren't ready to enter. Caves filled with secrets we weren't meant to find. What if extinction wasn't failure? What if it was retreat? You lie awake again that night. Of course you do. Because every rustle in the dark might be breath. Every shadow might be muscle. And the worst part? You believe it still lives there. Not just in the cave, but in the space between memory and myth. The bear that waits for you to return.
There's blood on the snow. You see it before you smell it, bright against the white, fresh enough to steam. A trail winds to the brush, disappearing into the undergrowth like something was dragged. Not a clean kill. A snatch. You crouch. You know what kind of predator leaves a trail like that. Not a group hunter, not a bone collector. No, this is personal. This is a message. And the message is mine. You follow, carefully. The snow around the trail is undisturbed. No prints. Just a slide of something heavy being pulled by something heavier. You grip your spear tighter. You think you hear something up ahead, a hiss, or a growl, or just the sound of your own heartbeat climbing into your ears. Then you see it, or what's left of it. A deer, ripped apart like parchment, torn open from neck to gut, organs gone, bones visible. The rib cage cracked wide like fingers pulled back too far. And crouched over it, half buried in shadow, is the thing that did it. Saber-toothed. You've heard the name whispered around fire pits. Smilodon. But that word doesn't do justice to what's in front of you now. It's not a cat, not really. It's too thick through the shoulders, too short in the tail. Its neck bulges with muscle. Its jaws hang slightly open, even when at rest, just to make room for those curved ivory fangs. Those teeth were never meant for chewing. They were meant for killing. It turns to you, and you freeze. For a moment, you wonder if you're hallucinating, if the frost and hunger have turned your vision strange. But no, the breath clouds from its nostrils. Its tail twitches once. You are not alone, and you are not safe. You stay low, still, not pretending to fight, just not running. Yet. The saber-tooth snorts and stalks off into the trees, like it decided you weren't worth the energy. Not today. You wait. Then breathe again. The others find you later. You try to describe it. They shake their heads. One elder tells a story of a man who looked into a cat's eyes and went blind. Another insists that the fangs weren't for hunting, but for ceremony. That they only appeared in the ones chosen by the spirits. That the animals with those teeth weren't beasts at all. They were priests. Fringe theory? Maybe. But it's not just elders. Even modern scientists can't agree on how Smilodon actually used those teeth. Some say it used them like knives to sever arteries. Others think they were fragile, only used once the prey was already pinned. Still others believe they weren't used to kill at all, but to intimidate or even attract mates. But you know what it felt like to be seen by those teeth. And that's enough. Later that night, you carve it into the cave wall. 2 fangs, 1 drop of blood, no eyes. Because you can't draw what it saw in you. You sit by the fire. The others eat, laugh, pretend they're not scared. You stare into the flames and remember how the creature moved, like a shadow with intent. Here's something lovely to dream about. Fossil evidence suggests Smilodon fatalis had relatively weak jaw strength, far less than a lion's. It compensated with neck power, like a guillotine built into its spine. It didn't bite to hold. It bit to end things. You lie in your furs, faking sleep. Then you hear it. A scream in the distance. Short, wet, human. Cut off fast. You sit up, heart already racing. Someone else saw the teeth tonight, and they weren't ignored. By morning, no one mentions the scream. You all heard it. No one says the name, but you all know what it was. Instead, the camp is quiet, busy. People pretend there's nothing in the woods that remembers the way your friend screamed. The elders say it was a trick of the wind. You know better. You sharpen your spear, check your sling, and head out early. Too early. You want to be far from camp before your thoughts catch up. The wind bites. The snow glitters cruelly under a gray sky. You walk along the ridge where trees give way to open field, too exposed for ambushes. That's the plan. Avoid places where shadows get ideas. That's when you hear the first howl. Long, low, too long. It rises, catches the wind, and unravels across the sky like thread pulled from skin. A second howl joins it, then a third, then silence. You stop walking and listen. You're not being watched, you're being counted. You press forward slowly. Up ahead, something moves along the tree line. Shapes. 4-legged, long-legged. Wolves? You hope so. But these aren't the scrappy, sharp-nosed scavengers that follow your camp hoping for leftovers. These are bigger. You drop to one knee and watch. Massive shoulders, thick necks, heads like anvils. Dire wolves. They're real, and they're not alone. 4, maybe 5, moving in a loose line, scanning the open ground, working together. Historians still argue about how coordinated dire wolves were. Some say they were less clever than modern wolves, just heavier, more brute force. Others say they hunted in packs so tightly coordinated that prey rarely got to run. You're not sure which is scarier. You've seen modern wolves. These? They make wolves look like deer. You back away, careful not to draw attention. One of the dire wolves pauses, sniffs the air. Its head turns, slowly. You're not sure if it saw you, but it's moving now, toward the ridge. You don't run, not yet. You crouch low and shift downhill, using rocks as cover. There's a gully ahead, if you can reach it. A crack,
A branch behind you, not from you. You spin. A second wolf, closer, alone. No growl, no charge, just watching. It cocks its head, steps forward. You take a breath and swing your sling wide, flinging a rock hard. It connects, a sharp thwack to the shoulder. The wolf stumbles, then snarls. You run, not elegantly, not bravely, just fast. The trees blur past. Your feet find purchase, then lose it. Snow flies up in your face. Behind you, pounding steps, but not many. Just one. It's not the pack, it's that one, and it's enough. You slide down a slope and crash into a drift. The cold steals your breath, but you crawl, shoving yourself into a cluster of boulders too tight for anything big to follow. The wolf paces outside, growls once, then disappears. Later, when you return to camp, the dogs won't come near you. You smell like something they understand, something above them. One of the elders hears your story and nods slowly. The Gray King, she says. We used to call them that. You mean dire wolves? She shakes her head. No, him. The one that remembers your smell. You try to laugh. It doesn't come. Here's a curious fossil fact for your bedtime trivia. Dire wolves had thicker skulls than their modern relatives, heavier jawbones, possibly even larger olfactory bulbs, meaning they could smell better. That's comforting. They knew you before they saw you. That night, you take the dogs outside the fire ring and sleep beside them. Not because it's warmer, because if something comes again, they'll smell it first. And maybe, just maybe, they'll decide you belong to them.
The tribe moves the next day. No ceremony, no council, just quiet packing. Like ants when a stick stabs the hill, they scatter. No one says it's because of the wolves, or the scream, or the footprints near the meat store. But no one really says anything at all. You travel light, south, through the pines, across snow-smothered hills. The dogs stay close. The elders trail behind. Even the children are quieter than usual. Everyone's waiting for something to follow. You set up near a narrow ravine where frost cracks the stones like old glass. The cave you find isn't much, just a scooped-out overhang, barely deep enough to hide in. But the fire holds. And for a while, it's peaceful. Until the growl comes. Not from the woods, from below. You freeze. It's not loud, it's low. Like someone dragging a log across gravel. You peer over the edge of the ravine, and there it is. At first, you think it's a bear. Then you think maybe a dog. Then your brain decides to just stop trying. It has the build of both. The snout of a wolf, but heavier, thicker. Its shoulders slope like a bear's, and the way it moves, on padded, quiet feet, tells you it doesn't mind the cold. Its coat is dark, matted, clumped in places with ice. A bear dog. Amphitryon. Not quite either, and more dangerous than both. It's sniffing the edge of your camp now, just beneath the ridge. And it doesn't look hungry. It looks curious. You shift slowly, gripping your spear. You think about calling out, but you don't, because it's already looking at you. Its head tilts, and for a moment, you see something in its face that chills you worse than the wind. Recognition. Then it turns and vanishes into the woods. The next morning, you find the draglarks. Not clawed, not rushed, just methodical. Like something heavy was pulled backward. A deer, maybe. But no blood. Just a line in the snow. You say nothing. Neither does anyone else. But that night, no one sleeps close to the edge. Here's a strange little puzzle for your late-night brain. Amphicyon fossils have been found far older than your people. Some say they vanished 5 million years ago. Others argue some species might have survived much longer in isolated habitats. Too big to chase down deer, but too clever to starve. Some theorize they didn't die out. They just got quieter. The wind howls that night. A coyote yips in the distance. It doesn't last long. It's cut off mid-note. You tighten your furs and lie flat. The fire flickers against the cave ceiling, and in its shadows, you swear you see that sloping shoulder, that tilting head, watching you through flame. You blink. It's gone. Later, someone draws the creature in charcoal. Big paws, wolf face, bear frame. The kids ask what it is. No one answers, because none of you want to name the thing that might still be listening. You lie awake again. Of course you do. And you wonder if maybe you weren't watching it at all. Maybe it was just checking in, to see how far you've come, and how much longer you have.
The cold snaps differently here. It doesn't sting, it settles, like it's decided to stay. The wind has gone mute, and even the dogs have stopped barking. You're moving through the lower valleys now, where the trees give way to open plains, and the snow is trampled by something large. You kneel beside the tracks. Each print is the size of your chest, deep, spread wide. Whatever made them was heavy, but not clumsy. The pattern is steady, straight. A mammoth. Your mouth goes dry. You've seen them from a distance, hulking shapes across the horizon, moving like clouds with tusks. Their backs humped with age, their eyes small and unreadable. You remember once as a child seeing one turn its head toward your group. It didn't charge, it didn't bellow, it just looked. And that was enough to send 3 hunters running. Now, this trail is fresh. The herd passed through less than an hour ago. Steam still rises from a patch of trampled grass. The snow hasn't even crusted over the prints yet. You want to follow, but you hesitate, because mammoths don't wander alone, unless something's wrong. You hear it before you see it, a strained bellow, distant and echoing off the hills like thunder trapped in stone. You move fast, feet crunching over dry grass and frozen puddles. And then you find it. The mammoth stands alone, a bull, wounded. Its flank is streaked with blood, and one tusk is broken near the base, jagged like a shattered bone. Its breath comes in visible huffs, each one a ghost of pain. It doesn't notice you at first, but you notice everything. The way it leans, ever so slightly, like its legs can barely keep up. The way its ears droop. The way its eyes flicker toward the trees, not from fear, but from expectation, as if it knows something else is out there. You creep closer, staying low. Somewhere behind you, a whisper of wind, and then movement. Not from the mammoth, from the forest. A shape, low to the ground. You squint. No, shapes. A pack. Wolves? No. Cats. Sabers? Too bulky. Then you see the sloped backs, the fast movement, the quiet. Scimitar cats. Homotherium. Sleek, powerful, and smart. You duck behind a log and watch. They're not rushing the mammoth. They're herding it. One circles left. Another darts forward, just enough to draw a reaction. The bull swings its broken tusk wildly. It misses. The cat backs away. And then another approaches from the rear, slashing quickly and retreating. They're not just attacking, they're exhausting it. Some paleontologists believe scimitar cats were social hunters, unlike many modern big cats. There's fossil evidence of multiple cats around single kills. They weren't a stockier Smilodon, but they were faster, built to run prey down, designed to work in sync. You're watching it now. The mammoth bellows again. It tries to charge. Too slow, too tired. One of the cats leaps, lands on its back. Claws dig in. The mammoth spins, but another cat lunges low, ripping at a leg tendon. The bull crashes sideways. You flinch. It's not a quick kill. It takes minutes. When it's finally over, the cats don't roar in triumph. They just eat. You wait for hours until they leave. Not because they're full, because something else spooked them. You don't wait to find out what. Back at camp, you tell the others. They listen, wide-eyed. Then they say nothing, because there's nothing to say when that kind of animal is out there. Here's something to curl your toes around while you try to sleep. Modern lions sleep up to 20 hours a day. Scimitar cats? Possibly less, because they worked all the time. They didn't just hunt for food, they hunted to master. You sit at the edge of the fire, sketching lines in the ash. One curve for a tusk, one slash for a fang, and 3 small dots for the eyes you know were watching you too. Because the cats didn't just hunt the mammoth, they saw you and let you walk away. You're not sure why, but you're not sleeping tonight. Not because you're afraid of them coming back, but because you're afraid they remember.
By now, fear has changed shape. It's not the sudden jolt of panic anymore. It's a presence, a steady pressure at the base of the neck. You walk differently now, quieter, not because you were taught to, but because the world demands it. You don't make eye contact with shadows, because some of them look back. Today, the snow is thin, the sun is weak. You've been sent to gather wood along the southern ridge, a dead forest, burned decades ago, now nothing but blackened trunks and brittle branches. It's wide open, too quiet. But it's safe. Supposedly. Then you hear the crunch. Not close, not loud, but heavy. You pause. It comes again. And again. A slow rhythm. Not a predator's creeping stalk. This is a march. Deliberate. You crouch low behind the fallen log and watch the horizon. A shape emerges. Then another. Then 5 more. They rise out of the mist like statues brought to life. Their antlers catch the light, broad, elaborate, terrifyingly vast. Their bodies are massive, cloaked in dark fur and muscle. They move with a kind of regal silence. Giant deer. Irish elk, some might call them one day. But right now, they don't feel Irish or elk. They feel ancient. The biggest among them stops just 30 paces from you. Its antlers stretch wider than a man is tall, bones shaped like forests, eyes dark and still. You don't move, because prey doesn't move until it has to. It snorts once, then continues walking. You don't breathe until it's gone. You didn't know you were holding your breath that long. The others don't believe you at first, until you show them the marks. Tree trunks gouged where the antlers brushed past, branches snapped at head height, a single turd the size of your forearm. That does the trick. Later, an elder laughs and tells the children, the deer used to be kings long before the lions came. You think it was a joke. You hope it was a joke. But there's something behind his eyes that says maybe it wasn't. Here's a scholarly tidbit that makes things more interesting. The antlers of Megaloceros gigantes could span 12 feet wide. Some paleontologists believe they were used primarily for mating displays.
Others argue they were too big for forests, so the deer must have lived in open plains. But that doesn't explain the cave paintings. Some show the deer standing over humans, not grazing, watching. And if you stare long enough at those drawings, you start to notice something else. The deer have no mouths, just eyes, which means they didn't speak, they judged. You lie awake, replaying the moment it stared at you. It didn't smell you, it didn't flee, it paused, as if considering what to do. Like maybe it remembered your kind and hadn't decided if that was good or bad. That night, someone in the camp sings an old lullaby. You don't know the words, but the rhythm sounds like footsteps on frozen ground. Slow, measured, heavy. You stare at the cave wall and imagine antlers branching out of the darkness, not as weapons, as warnings. And when you finally sleep, you dream of a forest where every tree has eyes, and they never blink.
The old man dies at dawn. Not from a wound, not from cold. He just doesn't wake up. No one cries, no one wails. He was ready. His eyes had been distant for days, like he'd already gone ahead to scout. But before they burn his body, someone finds something in his furs. A lock of hair. Long, coarse, dark. Not human, not deer. Too thick for wolf, too smooth for bear. No one knows what it came from, but no one throws it away. Instead, they wrap it in a red-dyed pouch and hang it from a high branch far from camp. For respect, or maybe as a warning. You volunteer to scout the hill pass that morning. You say it's to hunt marmot. It's not. You want to know what's still out there. The pass is narrow, flanked by ice-chiseled cliffs. The wind doesn't cut here. It slithers, low, quiet, like a whisper that's forgotten how to form words. You move carefully. There's no snow here, just frozen dirt and scattered rocks. And then, tracks. You stop dead. They look human, but they're not. Too wide, too long. The heel sinks deeper than it should, and the stride? Enormous. You follow the trail, heart thudding. Every few steps, you find another print. One is pressed into a patch of moss, another in the mud beside a stream. No drag marks, no handprints. This thing walks upright, and it walks with purpose. Then you find the tree, split, not broken, split, from the top down, as if something gripped it and peeled it apart like bark from a sapling. You run your fingers along the exposed wood, smooth and warm, like whatever touched it still lingers. That's when you hear the grunt. It's low, deep, not aggressive, just present. You spin, scanning the cliffs. Nothing. You back away slowly. Still nothing. But the silence is wrong again, like the air is holding its breath. You don't stay. You return to camp and say nothing. Not because you're afraid of being laughed at, but because you're afraid of being believed. Later that night, one of the children draws a figure in the ash. It has long arms, a small head, wide feet, and no face. When asked what it is, the child shrugs and says, "The tall thing." Here's the strange part. In deep Siberian caves, archaeologists have found footprints that resemble human prints, except they're from a time before humans should have been there. Too deep, too big, too alone. Some say they're misidentified. Others say we just haven't figured out who else was walking then. You lie down and pull the furs over your head, just to block the shape of the ceiling, because you keep imagining eyes,
set too far apart, blinking too slowly, watching not to harm, but to remember. There's a fringe belief that Gigantopithecus, a real genus known only from jawbones and teeth, wasn't just an ape, that it walked like a man, that it lived alongside us, and that it learned how to disappear when we got too curious. Maybe extinction wasn't what happened. Maybe withdrawal was. You fall asleep imagining long arms wrapping around trees, not to shake them, but to hide behind them. And in your dream, you walk through a valley where the shadows are too thick, and the silence has a heartbeat, and something waits just beyond your hearing, not ready to leave, not ready to greet you, just waiting. The snow returns with teeth. Sharp winds bite through your furs like you're wrapped in paper. Ice clings to your lashes. The sky is so white it disappears, and the world folds in around you like you're walking through a bowl of bone dust. You're on the move again. Food's gone low, again. Tracks are scarce, again. But something in the back of your skull is gnawing. That thing you didn't see. The too long footprints, the peeled tree, the hair wrapped in the dead man's pouch. You can't stop thinking about it, which is why when the elders suggest taking the western ridge, you go east, alone. You tell yourself it's for scouting. Maybe you'll find rabbit trails, maybe a deer bed, maybe something. But the truth? You want to see it again, or prove to yourself it was never real. You move slow, careful, every step pressed into ice-slick earth. Then you find the tree, not snapped, bent, still alive, curved unnaturally into an arch like something huge leaned into it and held. There are prints again, less clear, crusted with new snow, but the spacing is unmistakable. Wide steps, deep heels, one toe drag. You follow, and then you hear it. Not a roar, not a grunt, a rhythm. Thump, thump, like something heavy walking on two legs, but not fast, just steady. You duck behind the fallen log, heart thudding. A shape moves through the fog, too far to see clearly, but too large to ignore. It stops, turns. You feel it turn, like the mountain is looking at you. Then it walks on, gone into mist. You don't follow. You don't need to, because you finally understand. It wasn't hiding from you, it was deciding. You return to camp with a new kind of silence in your chest. Not fear, not reverence, just respect. The kind you give to something that chooses not to kill you. That night, you sit by the fire, listening to the wind rattle bones struck above the entrance. The others are asleep, even the dogs are quiet. And you sketch it, not to show anyone, just so it's real. A tall shape, broad shoulders, no face. A question made of meat. Here's a detail to chew on while your blankets warm your breath. Gigantopithecus is only known from a handful of jawbones and teeth. They were found in Asia. Some argue it never lived where you are. Others argue we're only finding what it allowed us to. There's a theory that it didn't die out, it simply stepped away. When we arrived, when we started to multiply, when we stopped fearing the trees. And if that's true, it means we didn't replace it, we just lived louder, and in doing so, pushed it into the quiet, where it waits. Not out of fear, but out of choice. You lie on your side, eyes open to the cave ceiling, trying to forget the rhythm of those footsteps, trying harder not to wish you'd followed them, just to know what it wanted, just to know your place, because it already knows yours.
Your footsteps make no sound today. Even the snow seems to hush itself around you. No wind, no animal calls, not even the trees creak. It's the kind of silence that doesn't just settle, it warns. You're traveling south now toward the salt springs. The elders think something big died there recently. Vultures circled for days. Where there's death, there's meat. And where there's meat, well, that's the problem, isn't it? You reach the edge of the valley just before dusk. The light has gone gold and weak, smearing across the snow like old butter. Below you, steam curls up from the cracked earth. And strewn across the flat plain, bones. Everywhere. Some fresh, some gnawed, some so old they've turned gray. But the centerpiece? A bison. Dead. Its skull smashed in, ribs scattered like driftwood. The kill doesn't look clean, it looks angry. And standing over it, not moving, not eating, just standing, is a short-faced bear, Arctodus simus. You drop low and freeze. It doesn't see you. Yet. It's enormous. Not just bear big, wrong big. Its limbs are long, like someone pulled a bear upward until it could stand taller than a man. Its head looks too small for its body until you realize it's not small, just far, because the rest of it is built like a freight cart. It paces, sniffs. Its breath clouds the air, thick and steady. Then it rears. Not to threaten, just to stretch. Taller than anything you've ever seen on two legs. And then it lowers again, grabs a chunk of bone, and snaps it in half like dry wood. The sound carries up the valley. You don't move. You can't. Because if it turns, you're not prey. You're just an interruption. Historians still debate what Arctodus truly was. Some think it was a hunter. Others argue it was a hyper-scavenger, too big to chase, too strong to be chased off. A beast that didn't have to kill because it could just take. You believe it. Because this one, it doesn't even eat the bison. It just nudges it, grunts once, then pads away, like it got bored. Like it's saving its appetite for something better. You wait until it's gone, then you approach the kill. There's a tooth embedded in the rib. Not a full fang, just a chip, still larger than your thumb. You take it and slip it into your pouch without thinking. You're not sure why, but it feels like a receipt. You head back to camp, jaw tight. Someone's left a fresh charcoal sketch by the fire. It's a bear, but not hunched like most drawings. It stands tall. And in its hand, yes, hand, it holds a crooked staff. You ask who drew it. No one answers. You glance at the old woman who never speaks. She's already watching you. Then she points to the woods and mutters, "It comes when we forget we're meat." Lovely. Here's a fringe theory to lull you to sleep. Some scientists believe the short-faced bear evolved its strange long limbs not just for speed, but for intimidation. That it didn't need to run, it needed to be seen. Like a god. Or a warning. You lie in your furs, muscles still buzzing. The tooth in your pouch is warm. That shouldn't be possible. You tell yourself it's your imagination. But then, a dog whines near the fire. And the wind, dead all day, suddenly shifts direction. Just enough to carry the scent of bison fat and something older. Something watching from a place where silence sleeps and hunger never does.
The next day, a shadow passes overhead. Not a cloud, not a bird, just a feeling that something large has moved between you and the sun. You look up, nothing there, but you feel smaller now, like the light is checking to see if you're still here. The tribe's restless. The meat from the bison was too spoiled to eat. The children are hungry. The hunters are quieter than usual. And you keep touching the tooth in your pouch. It's smooth now, cold. You don't know why you expect it to be warm again. You volunteer to scout ahead, again. No one argues. Maybe they're glad you keep going out alone. Maybe they think whatever's watching will choose you first. You take the ridge path this time, narrow, exposed, terrible for hiding, perfect for spotting trouble early. But trouble doesn't come in roars today. It comes in rhythm, a clicking sound, like claws tapping stone in an unhurried pace. Click, click, click. You drop flat behind the rock outcrop and peer over. And that's when you see her. At least you think it's female. She's tall, slender for something so big. Fur clings close to her frame, marked with faint stripes that ripple when she moves. And on either side of her muzzle, short, thick sabers. Not Smilodon. No. Homotherium, the scimitar cat. You've heard whispers of them, long-limbed, fast as wind, smarter than wolves, supposedly extinct. Some even believed they'd never been real, just exaggerated lion bones twisted by time and story. But she's here now, and she's not alone. Two others stalk behind her, less graceful, more brutish, a hunting trio. They don't pounce, they plan. You can see it in their spacing, the way they triangulate a hill. You realize you're not watching predators, you're watching a unit. Coordinated, precise, built for dismantling confidence before they tear flesh. Historians still debate whether Homotherium hunted in packs. Some say the evidence is unclear. Others point to kill sites with multiple individuals and bones with strategic bite patterns. You don't need a fossil to believe it now, because they're moving in sync. You hear a yelp, a deer maybe. The cats break formation. One bolts wide, the other chases straight. The leader flanks hard left, anticipating the prey's panic. Seconds later, silence. Then a crunch. Then chewing. You stay hidden until the sun moves west. Only when the shadows grow long do the cats vanish as silently as they came. You don't follow, not this time, but you do understand something new. Some monsters don't charge. They calculate, they weigh, they decide. You make your way back as darkness creeps in. Every branch crack sounds like bone, every bird cry like a countdown. You reach camp. The fire's already burning. The elder with the ash-smeared face is humming a song you've never heard, low, slow. The words don't make sense, but the tune feels old, older than language. She says it's for the judges. You ask what that means. She just says, the ones that watch before they choose. Here's a fact you won't find carved into bone. Some believe the scimitar cats didn't vanish. They simply waited until no one was worth the effort. You curl into your furs, the fire popping beside you, and feel the tension drain from your legs, but not from your chest. Because even now, eyes closed, muscles limp, stomach empty, you can still hear the clicks, claws, stone, judgment. And somewhere, deep in the hills, a cat with a name you'll never learn decides, for now, to let you be.
The snow has turned against you. It doesn't fall gently now. It slashes sideways, flung by a wind that doesn't feel like it comes from the sky. It feels like it comes from inside the mountains. You huddle by the fire, The smoke crawls sideways across the ground. Every gust sounds like it's carrying voices. Not clear words, just syllables that almost mean something. The tribe can't move in this. You're stuck here, on the edge of the gorge, for at least another night, maybe longer. The cave isn't deep enough to be safe, but the wind makes traveling worse. You offer to check the ridge for safer shelter. No one argues. Maybe they hope you won't come back. Maybe you hope that too. The slope is rough, half-melted snow on jagged rock. You climb it slow. By the time you reach the top, your fingers are numb and your breath cuts your throat like glass. But the wind stops, just like that, dead still. And on the other side of the ridge, you see it, a carcass, a musk ox, torn apart, not eaten, just shredded. The rib cage is ripped open, not chewed. Bones are snapped, not gnawed. Something powerful did this, not for food, for dominance. And there, half buried in ice, are the tracks, paw prints. But not from a cat, not from a wolf. These are round, deep, spaced wide. The claws dig in with each step, like it moved with purpose. You know that print. It belongs to a short-faced bear, Arctodus again. But this one's different. Bigger? Maybe. Angrier? Definitely. You crouch and study the path. The bear circled the ox, then attacked from the rear. But what chills you most is what happened after. It didn't eat. It didn't even drag the body. It left it, just walked away. What kind of predator kills and doesn't take the prize? The kind that kills for other reasons. Dominance, territory, message. And the message was left for something else. You stand, the wind returns, and in it you hear a low sound. Not a roar, not a growl, something between a cough and a laugh. You sprint back down the slope, but you know it already knows your smell now. At camp, you try to explain, but how do you describe the feeling of being evaluated by something that has no reason to care? The others are quiet, until one man says, "It's the old one, the real one." Everyone nods. No one explains what that means, but you get the sense there are stories that don't get told unless someone doesn't come back. Here's your nightmare trivia for the evening. The short-faced bear had limbs built for speed. Unlike modern bears, which waddle or gallop awkwardly, Arctodus may have been able to run down prey across long distances. Like a lion, on stilts, with a grudge. And its bite? Strong enough to crush bone. But some fossils show damage to other bear bones, suggesting they fought each other regularly, which means even monsters had monsters to fear. You try to sleep, but the fire's too small. The wind howls too loud. And every time the flames flicker, you see the ox carcass again, broken, unfinished, like a sentence cut off mid-word. And the worst part? It didn't end with blood. It ended with footsteps walking away. Because the bear didn't want food, it wanted space. And now, it knows you're in it. The next morning, you find tracks around the camp. Not into, not through, around. A wide circle etched into snow that fell overnight. Heavy, deliberate prints that never crossed the fire line, just skirted it. Like something walked the perimeter while you all slept, unseen, unheard. No one saw it, but it saw everyone. You wake to the sound of low voices and nervous laughter, but no one jokes about the prince. One of the children starts crying. The elder with the broken teeth spits into the snow and says, "It's a test." A test of what? No one answers. You don't eat breakfast. You follow the tracks. They lead east. And slowly, as the day grinds on and the wind grows sharp again, the prints shift. They change shape, smaller, tighter. Then another set joins them, identical but reversed, like something doubled back. You realize it's walking beside itself, or hunting in pairs. You stop, because ahead, just at the edge of a thicket, something glints. You creep closer. A carcass. Not a deer this time, not a bison, a wolf. Half-eaten, not by a human, not clean, shredded, bone snapped, limbs pulled apart at the joints like twigs. Its head is gone. The snow around it is soaked, but not red, black. The smell is worse than anything you've ever known. You don't throw up, but you think about it. And then you hear the chuff. A low, short breath. Not a cough, not a growl. A signal from just beyond the trees. You don't look. You run. You don't think. Your body just decides. You reach camp as your lungs give out. The dogs are barking. The people are shouting. There's panic, but no screams. Not yet. You collapse by the fire and someone grabs your arm. You can't tell who. Was it them? They ask. You nod, still gasping. No one needs to ask who they are, because the drawings on the wall already have new shapes. Hyena shapes. Big, crooked, with jaws too wide and backs too high, and multiple pairs of eyes. Here's the part no one wants to hear. Ice Age hyenas weren't scavengers the way we imagine. They were hunters. Pachycrocuta brevirostris, the giant hyena, may have been the size of a lion. Thick-limbed, high-shouldered, and with a bite strong enough to crush femurs. Some scientists argue it couldn't run fast. Others argue it didn't need to, because it just followed things that could, and took the prize, even from lions. There's one old theory, rarely taught, often dismissed, that hyenas weren't just cleaners of the world. They were recyclers. They didn't destroy life. They erased it. Quietly, thoroughly, without even needing a roar. That night, no one sleeps. The fire burns high. The shadows burn higher. And when a branch cracks in the woods, you all stare at the same patch of dark, waiting, not for eyes, but for laughter. Because hyenas don't howl, they cackle. And that sound, it doesn't echo. You lie on your side facing the cave wall and trace the outline of the drawing. Someone's painted another hyena shape next to the first, then a third, and then a man, split in half. No caption, no eyes, just silence, and the feeling that soon the laughter will find you. The laughter never comes, but the silence it leaves behind, that's worse. You move camp again, further south, toward the melting rivers and thick pine valleys. The snow here turns to mud during the day, refreezes at night. Your boots never dry. Your hands always shake. But at least it's quiet. At least you think it is. Because today, while scouting the river bend, you find something strange. Not a track, not a kill. A circle. Etched into the earth. Burned maybe, or scraped. No ash, no blood. Just soil drawn into a perfect ring, about the size of a fire pit.
But it wasn't made by fire. It was pressed by something massive. You circle it once, then again, trying to read it like a story. That's when you hear the snap. You look up, across the stream. A creature stands there, tall, not upright, but not on all fours either. It leans, shoulders forward, arms long, dragging near the ground. Its eyes are small, its muzzle short, powerful. And around its neck, a ruff of fur, striped, gold and black and brown. A cave lion, but not the kind they warn you about. This one is old, older than stories. It watches you, doesn't flinch, doesn't move, just stares. Then it sits, like a man, and licks its paw. The motion is casual, like it's bored, like it knows you can't run fast enough. You don't move, you barely breathe. Eventually, it turns, walks back into the woods, gone. You don't follow, you don't tell the others. But that night, you scratch a lion into the cave wall, not like the old ones, not roaring, just sitting, tail curled around its feet, eyes open. Here's a bit of history no one's sure how to place. Cave lions, Panthera spelaea, were among the largest big cats to ever live, bigger than today's African lions. Some fossils show individuals nearly 10 feet long from nose to tail. And yet, their bones are found near human shelters, frequently, not just as prey, not just as threats, but as icons. Some caves have lions painted on the walls with red pigments, always alone, always watching, never attacking. Maybe they were gods. Maybe they were warnings. Maybe we just respected them more than anything else. Because they didn't need to chase us. They only needed to show up. You lie down near the fire and stare at the shadows dancing across the walls. You wait for a roar. It doesn't come, but you feel it in your chest, low, warm, patient. Some monsters come at night to hunt. Others just wait to be seen. And when you finally sleep, you dream of a lion sitting by a river, grooming itself as the world crumbles around it, unmoving, immortal. Because it doesn't need to survive. It just needs to be remembered. By the final days of snow, the world begins to go still. Not the quiet stillness of danger, the hollow kind, the kind that creeps in after something ends. The kills have stopped. The wind's lost its edge. Even the dogs sleep deeper, their ears no longer twitching at shadows. But something's wrong. You feel it in the way the birds leave the trees. Not all at once, but like they know something you don't. Like they've checked the calendar and circled today in red. You wake before dawn. Can't say why, just pulled. And when you step outside, the sky isn't dark. It's blue. Not the kind that welcomes day, the kind that refuses to decide. You walk, not toward food, not toward firewood, just outward, as if something's waiting. And over the ridge, you see them. You stop breathing, not from fear, from understanding. There, across the mist-stained plain, a line forms. Shapes move like mountains standing up. Some you recognize, others you only know from bones and whispers. A mammoth, its tusks curving like question marks. A dire wolf, lips curled in a snarl, but not at you. A scimitar cat, pacing like it's waiting for a signal that never comes. Cave bears, massive and unmoving. A short-faced bear, shoulders swaying like it owns gravity. And lions, so many lions. Some with fangs, others with eyes that glow without firelight. They don't charge, they don't roar, they gather. Behind them, giant deer, hyenas with backs like broken bridges, saber-toothed watchers, and something taller, hunched, fur-matted, walking on two legs. The shape you never saw clearly until now. The memory. The parade passes slowly. A procession of extinction. You don't run. You kneel. You watch. Because this isn't a threat. It's a farewell. The monsters aren't coming to claim the world. They're leaving it. One by one, they vanish into mist, feet silent over snow that no longer holds prints. No snarls, no shrieks, just the wind, whispering something too old to translate. You return to camp with frozen cheeks and wet eyes. The fire's low. The tribe still sleeps. But you take the ash and smear it across the cave wall one last time. Not a beast, not a kill, just a line of shadows. And behind them, a man, watching. Here's the theory that no one publishes, but every storyteller knows in their bones. Extinction isn't loud. It doesn't roar. It doesn't scream. It leaves quietly. It walks away while you're still wondering where it went. And sometimes, if you're lucky, or unlucky, you get to see the moment the monsters decide they don't need to survive anymore, just to be remembered. And in the end, that might be the only reason they let you live. To tell it, to witness, to carry the last footprints in your eyes.
You settle deeper under the furs. The fire is low now, little more than a red eye watching over the dark. Your breath slows. The weight of the world pulls down softer, heavier but safe. No footfalls echo in the snow tonight. No growls ride the wind. All the monsters are gone. They've taken their fangs and claws, their judgment and muscle, and walked back into the dark they came from. But they left their memory behind. They left it in the way the cold makes you pause at the edge of the trees, in the way your bones shiver when you see a shadow that doesn't belong, in the stories your grandmother told, and in the ones you'll tell next. Because some monsters weren't here to eat you. They were here to shape you, to test if you'd make it. And now you have. So rest now. There's nothing left to chase you. They've stepped into history. You're what came next. But if you listen closely, just as the wind slips past the rocks and the coals whisper to themselves, you might still hear a paw step in the farthest corners of your mind. Not hunting, not haunting, just remembering what it felt like to be real. You turn, eyes heavy, muscles soft, and let the dark take you gently. You've walked with monsters, and you've lived. Sleep now. They're gone. You're safe. For tonight. Sweet dreams.